Hello, and welcome to The Relevance of Now with William Linville. I'm Mike Connell, your host. Today, William's going to expand upon the great topic about trust. What would you like to first share, William, about trusting our clarity?
Well, the first thing that really presents here is when you're moving into a level of trust, which means you have a first thought, you have maybe a first feeling about one thing, another thing, or even about the day. When you hop out of bed, you're experiencing and feeling a certain thing. Now, before the mind that's been inundated with perceptual belief systems, perceptual judgments, and then those are made and then a backup of energy called emotion. So, what if for a moment we just take a breath in through our nose, nice slow deep breath, all the way down into your pelvic girdle, hold, then gently exhaling through the mouth, like you're gently trying to blow out a tea light candle. Is just doing this about 5 times, just getting in alignment with yourself, stepping out of all the thoughts, all the emotions, all the preoccupations, all the busyness that goes on around, excess stimulation, and identifications to the exponential world. And now, let's just welcome in the rest of yourself, which I call your higher levels, your cradle levels, your manifest levels, and your entourage all around you. Now, let's just take another deep breath. Let's even put forth the command, show me what the day looks like. Show me also, if I get up and I go this direction, what would be the potential outcomes of that direction? And then stepping back again, taking another deep breath. Okay, show me if I go this other direction, what the outcome will be taking this other direction. Because this is where you're connecting with yourself. You're not living your life by default. You're not living your life by preoccupation. And where everyone here has the opportunity as creator to step back from everything, to look at everything as an overview. Or if I say, okay, I'm looking at this over here. Yeah, if I go that direction, show me what it's going to look like. To where we're becoming so present within your own divinity that you're given all these options, opportunities for the sort of day and unfoldment and the unraveledness of what the day is going to look like before you take your first step. And where you're clearer, you're totally present to where now the day's not running you and how you feel, but it's you engaging within the day of, at this point, going with what's presenting for you within you due to the direction in which you wish to go without taking on all of the inundation of preoccupation from the exponential world, even from the thought forms and even from the perceptional barriers and filters of the belief system. To where now we're starting today totally wide awake, fully alert. And then asking to be shown, okay, now that I've chose this direction, or a family or entourage, higher levels, cradle levels, manifest levels, angelic, archangelic, ascended host realms, show me what's behind this door. And door being that of opportunities, engagements. There's no end to how much will and can present. Now we go there. And maybe it looks like this, maybe it looks like that, maybe it looks unappealing, unpleasing. Okay, family, why am I going here? Because we're not becoming attached to a right decision, wrong decision. We're becoming clearer within ourselves that everything serves a purpose. To where if we're having the best bad day possible, great. Let's stop, take a breath for a moment. And let's really take the personality out of what's going on. Let's take the ego out of what's going on. Because the ego is the only part that creates conflicts with how the day's unfolding. We like this, we don't like that. We want this to occur, not that to occur. But what about for a minute if we just take a breath, we run through it. But now personality's out of the way. We're not bracing for impact. We're not holding on so tightly that starts to create all this rigidity within yourself. But literally, we start flowing through anything and everything that's unveiling around us and letting all of it run its course to where this is moving out of your life, that's moving out of your life. But right now, we're not grasping onto from fight or flight, from panic, anxiety, overwhelming burden. Because if we don't have this, who will we be? No, we're becoming who you are to where we can allow everything else to take on a life of its own. I remember this from many opportunities presented with certain doorways. Like, great, my agreement with myself, the whole universe, entire of me, my creator consciousness as a whole, that okay, my part, I said I would show up. So I'm honoring that connection. I'm honoring that integrity within myself. And now we're getting into divine integrity that it may not logically make sense at times, but boy, is there a lot bigger picture of why we're going through this. We're experiencing that because it unveils all this stuff that at one time created a restriction within yourself. It's kind of like the whole ideal of a comfort zone. And it's where, okay, comfort zones, they're wonderful, I suppose, to a certain degree, but then you get up to a point where literally factually you outgrow that comfort zone because the whole comfort zone in itself is like it's a bigger box, but it is a box. And when this happens, that happens, everything's in alignment, and this is how it should be, blah, 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 says the ego, versus being able to move with it, flow with it, dance with it, and arise to the occasion in a whole different level, a whole different unveilment of fluidity, fruition, but also where we're welcoming back all of our energy, all of our power, all of our soul fragmentations cleared and purified. To where we're never being, let's say, led astray, and we're not trying to be in control. We're going with it, we're moving with it, we're rising to the occasion with it as well, to where we can take a breath and, all right, show me what's next. Show me the next unfoldment. Show me the next unfoldments. To where now we're doing it more and more consciously, cognitively, purposefully, without any sort of exponential preoccupations. It is a very internalized journey at this point because you know how you feel. There's not a good feeling, there's not a bad feeling. There's not a good sense, there's not a bad sense. They're only just different senses that right now you're unveiling all the subpsyche, emotional calibrational levels of anchors that have been holding you hostage to open up to the rest of yourself, the whole universe entirely, which is part of the relevance of now, because the only thing that I can really say is real, besides Israel, is you, your knowingness, you as the presence in the present that you are, no longer, I hear all these things that, okay, my upbringing, it made me stronger, it made me this, it made me that. Okay, great. Just bless it, be done with it. And now let's get back to the unveilment of you, because you're unveiling like a beautiful flower, a beautiful rose that is dropping its petals. You're expanding, expanding, arising, arising. Awesome job. You're in the ascension status lattice work. Awesome job. Ascending in vibratory levels and frequencies of megahertz of light, which means your vibratory levels are increasing, increasing to where you match, where you can marry with all of yourself, including your light bodies, to where none of the day to day grind, none of the day to day carnality, pleasure versus pain, fight and flight, where none of that has a hold on you anymore, and where you're flowing through your whole life now with the outside world, literally maintaining itself outside of yourself. But then we get into your knowingness, which goes into trust that, all right, family, I'm going to go to the restroom. I'm going to touch base. I'm going to reconnect with myself. And you start to become more and more clear and more certain, I guess I would say, to where you're embodying, but yet you're still, as a reminder, keeping the outside world outside of you. We're not putting up walls, defenses, blah, blah, blah. We're flowing with it because there is no need for walls or defense. That's all ego nonsense that says, well, I want to be seen like this. I want to be treated like that. I want to blah, 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 blah. All these conditions. And you're overcoming the conditionality to go more into your knowingness, which I am calling trust right now, because there's trust and then there's your knowingness. But we start to realize within yourself that everything is occurring very much on purpose for you, not to you.
So the process of trusting what I just heard you say is sort of a transition process in moving towards our knowingness. And in my experience, I wasn't conscious of my true self and the wisdom in the heart. And then once I was, there's an opportunity to access that information, trust the information you're getting. So trust is really the transition to knowingness.
It is. Like if we go back, Michael, through your journey, you had symptomologies and then you ended up realizing that you had leukemia and cancer. Now, it's not bad, good, or indifferent. But if we go back to, let's say, even physically speaking, when you were 9 years old, your knowingness was right there. The clarity was right there. Now it just comes to which voice am I going to listen to where eventually one thing led to another, to another, to another, to another. And you ended up in a hospital bed. Now, I cannot call that pass or fail. I would say great job, Michael, because you had those moments at that point, which you took advantage of. You woke up to you, to what is. And when I look at that stuff, even the hospital bed and everything else, we get to a point of asking ourselves, what am I missing? The answer is simple. You're missing yourself. When you get conflicted, well, I got all the suppressed anger. Okay, well, I have this and blah, 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 blah. But that's all the symptomologies. If we go back full circle to how many times you were attempting to get your own attention, now we get to a point where we start opening up, we start waking up to what truly is. And now it's like we're not leaving ourselves way back in the dust per se. We're embodying ourselves to where now you have every ability, your natural birthright, your high levels, your creative levels, your manifest levels, entourage, on and on, to where from here we start, we'll call it a journey of revelation, a journey of arisement, to where now here you are from that hospital bed, coming into yourself, reclaiming yourself, welcoming back your power, your energy, your soul fragmentations, cleared and purified, to where even at that point, all this stuff you took so serious, all this stuff from mom and dad, siblings, blah, 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 where we fit into the exponential world, where we don't fit into the exponential world, and all of these other things, that right at that moment, it all starts to really make sense and dissipate, because you start waking up to, who am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And you start waking up from being like a hamster on the wheel, mimicking mom and dad, siblings, the rest of the world, society, what you're hypothetically supposed to be. And in those periods, it's like you go through those portals, through those periods to where you arise, you wake up to so much more, which is at that point, it's like welcoming back your power, your energy, your soul fragmentation, because it's like, what have I been doing? Why have I been doing it? And what's driving this? And wow, honestly, this isn't really even about myself. It's about how we act and react with exponential world activities.
And through that process of the mind and the thoughts, there's a reprogramming or a deprogramming. And then there's the experience of the opportunity to learn to trust the thoughts that you're getting. So you've had all these past thoughts that have led you here, repetitive, still have many of them. And then when you take the opportunity to connect to your true self, which you did at the beginning with the breathing and there's space, and you ask yourself a question, what you've taught me is that's whatever answer you're getting first is what you need to trust.
Yes, because it presents right there, light as day, clear as clear. That's when I encourage you to go with it. And I say go with it from a way that, all right, this is what I'm presented with. Now we're kind of taking the mental, emotional levels out of it to where we're not looking for common sense. We're not looking for blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of humorous, really, because we ask ourselves, well, the whole common sense and all that hoopla, well, it's led me to this point right now. And so, ego, you're not doing such a bang up job. So from here, you go with what's right there in front of you. And I love this part because it's like, it presents like that, but then it's like there's no competition. There's like nothing undermining or underlying to create an agenda about. It's like jumping on the boat of the whole universe, which I'll say is yourself included, as the facet of creator that you are, and going for a ride, which I'll call, like, for some, it may be a cruise boat, for others, a clipper ship. But you see, you're hopping on board, you're flowing with yourself and as yourself to where everything else around you that has been the old energy, the old paradigms, the old chaos, what was like in your home as a child, blah, blah, blah. Well, all that stuff just really technically starts lighting on fire. And then where we just take a breath, we let all that stuff dissolve. We let all the roles that I'm a daughter, so I have to rah, 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 rah. I'm a son, I have to rah, 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 rah. We're just letting all that poof, light on fire. And I want you to really feel it with me because for the feminine structures, you can feel the estrogen burning up. For the male structures, you can feel the testosterone burning up because those are both more and more fight and flight reactions in major boxes like the most heaviest, densest iron anvil, bam, saying, this is who I am. Well, it's so cool because all those old energies, those old perceptions, those old belief systems, like through the subconscious, the emotional calibrational matters work, not just a thought. A thought is only a thought. But you ask yourself, where are these thoughts being derived from? And of course, the thoughts are being derived from the subconscious, where you decided, this is who I am, this is what I have to do, this is what I got to do to be loved or to fit in, be accepted. And now we're going back full circle to before that time, you in your own innocence, you in your own purity, arising and arising with no agendas like, I'm going to do this so I can get this and blah, blah, blah. Let's just skip all that. What about if we're just doing it because it's the first thing it presents? And sometimes you'll feel tense. Well, not you, the body does through the solar plexus, sometimes the shoulders, but it all really goes back to deriving from the solar plexus and from the soul level until we say, okay, you know what? Now I see what it used to be, how it has been, to now I want to see what it can be. And this is where you start arising and arising to come out, to play, to emanate, but also watching what I would call hypothetical miracles occurring in your life and within yourself. Because now that we're no longer identified with this, that, carnality, estrogen, testosterone, that we start getting real, true, lifelong results that embody, amplify. So if you imagine like a crack going down your central column, a crack that's cracking you open to light. Well, both sides of the density identifications are peeling away. Not saying do we need to relive and blah, blah, blah. I would encourage you always to look for the benefit with where you've been, what's taken place, because there's always a benefit. And when I ask you to find a benefit, that's your ticket to freedom. Do we just continue to go with, okay, we make a statement or a question. Okay, well, what is this situation really about? And then watch what starts flowing to you, through you. It's kind of interesting. It's coming in, but yet you're arising to the occasion from the inside out. So all these barriers from the inside and the outside start to collapse to where now there's only one you, no longer split levels of polarities, dualities through a polarized state or dualistic state as well of consciousness. So we don't have the good Michael, the bad Michael on each shoulder, like the angel and the devil. Because once again, you're right there in the middle. That's you. That will never, I promise you, ever, ever, ever lead you astray. But also, it's so cool where we don't got to control, micromanage. We are playing with things within yourself as yourself that go well beyond even the mental, emotional, egoic structure, even the mind's level of comprehension. But you feel it through your whole body, the very fiber of each and every molecule, atom, subatom, all the way through the human genome. You feel that sense of home, and you also feel that sense of, let's just call it for the sake of clarity, that sense of love, that sense of rightness, not justifiedness, but rightness, to where you always, more and more we go here, the more and more integrated you become and the more clearer you become, to where you start to really experience more and more of yourself. And then we'll call it the miraculousness, we'll call it the next unveilment, unfoldment. will say, all right, higher levels, greater levels, manifest levels, keep me unfolding as quickly as I can handle. For my highest best good, I'm ready to quantum leap. And where the biggest part with quantum leaping, that's a done deal. You put it forward, done deal, period. Now it's letting all this stuff that just no longer complements you die off, which takes a lot of trust. It's like, okay, I know all the pains of what have been. Now show me what is and show me what it can be.
And I found that the transition of moving away from detaching sort of, or not engaging with the egoic thoughts, the transition of trusting is dramatically aided by just doing what you started with, the breathing in and the breathing out.
Yeah, because eventually trust is the beginning. Number one, trust, faith, whatever you want to call it. But now one sequence of events leads to another. Some dear ones may roar up and say, well, Michael, you're blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, of course they're going to. I'm not saying it's always going to be that way. I'm just saying because they have felt your disconnect from the realms of consciousness that they had put you in for their own comfort zone. So yeah, you're watching it unravel at times. Some dear ones moving out of your life stream, not because you're putting up walls, just they get so worked up because their ego is no longer feeling nor receiving the energy from you the way that it did. And it's just long term beneficial change for them and for you. That's one part. But then the next part is how your higher levels, your greater levels, your manifest levels, entourage, the whole universe brings in a whole new flooding of dear ones that are going to match you right there at that vibratory frequency in megahertz of light. It's kind of like the whole divine complement thing. You're welcoming in dear ones that more so complement you in your life stream rather than all the old archaic duty and responsibilities.
Is there something you'd like to finish with about trusting our clarity?
Yes, in the past, not so much based in time, based dimensionally, through your incarnational choices and journeys. Many carry fear, resentment, overwhelming burden, and a lot of anxiety. So now let's put that all into perspective. Let's take it out of the karmic grid identification, because karmic grid is done. You meet the beloved of your heart and they kick it, they leave the planet, or maybe they take off to someone else. Who knows? But right now, let's just really bring our consciousness right there, but now from more of a wide awake and fully alert state within yourself. All the stuff I just pointed out, yeah, it's made you question trust. Some it's made you have all these God issues and feeling like puppet on a string and all this fun stuff. But when we really look at it for what it is, what happens is that from your Akashic record realms, from the soul journeyer levels, from the other soul journeyers that were a part of your journey, it's where we step back for a minute, take a breath. Now speaking through the relevance of the now, let's look at it with new eyes. Let's look at it as if you're an outsider looking in. We have nothing invested. Where we look at all the incarnations, even with those dear ones, soul groups, soul families, and so forth, where, yeah, they left the planet so you could move forward. Others, they left you, went somewhere else because they kind of got lost in the shuffle with their ego versus their heart. So maybe it made more sense because they'll get hooked up with whoever, maybe become a duchess, queen, whatever it may be, and all the riches, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, you have these angst within yourself. Dear ones leave the planet. In the past, you being attacked by warriors when you weren't hypothetically prepared. Yeah, it's been translated into God issues now that you're being punished and on, which, as you can see in your own personal life stream, goes all the way through incarnations, all the way to this incarnation. So now let's just take a breath, take off the sweater with the big A on it and all this fun stuff. Let's even take another breath, down through your gender, like through your pelvic girdle, the gender principle, and so forth. Let's just hold. Now, exhale as slow as you can through the mouth, releasing all of that buildup, all of that tension, all of that energy, which the gender principle, creator circle vortex, there's a lot of energy there, but it's the energy of spring. It's the energy of expressing. It's the energy of creating. So now let's just take ourselves out of all those situation scenarios and let's just go direct to, now let's even ask ourselves, even with incarnations, a lot of stuff has occurred, hands down. But what's been the benefit of it? How has it made you become more strong, more solo, more integrated within yourself? And also, where we let all the repressed anger, which anger is a conglomerate of emotions, once again, resentment, rage, all this interesting stuff, where we're just able to take a breath right now. And now I bless it. And we start to look out at more of the outside looking in of how did that journey, all of them, have benefits, all of them have taken place to honor you. And for some, to balance out imbalances, karmic system wise, integrity wise, to where we're recollecting all these parts of ourselves now, to where that perceivable dark cloud is no longer above you. Because now we've reached a zero point where right here, right now, we can take a breath, we can clear out, we can open up, amplify with so much more ease and grace, but also with all that energy, all those so fragmented particles of yourself and all of your power, welcome it all back right here, right now, cleared and purified to where now we can actually look at those situations. Let's thank our partner to the left of the planet. Let's thank the soldiers that came in when you were creating a falsivity of a spiritual ego. My God's bigger than your big God, blah, blah, blah stuff. And let's really raise our consciousness to see the benefit, because the benefit is what sets you free. And then that goes into a state of you seeing it for what it is, but you also receiving that much more love.
Wow, fantastic, William. And thank you all for joining us. Please click subscribe and join us for the next one. Namaste.
Namaste.